Wrongfully accused.
Wrongfully accused.
Wrongfully accused.
Wrongfully accused.
Welcome to Yestalgia. I'm Basil.
I'm Drew.
And I'm Amanda.
And today we are talking about Wrongfully Accused. Quick summary. Concert violinist Ryan Harrison is wrongfully accused of the murder and must seek out the real murderer whilst on the run from law enforcement.
Did you mention he's wrongfully accused? Because they mentioned it a lot of times in the movie.
I did say he was wrongfully accused.
But wrongfully accused.
I said the name of the movie. So, Amanda, would you like to tell us what your experience with this movie is?
I have none. I think that the most exposure that I have to y'all, I want to say Liam Neeson, but that's not right.
Leslie Nielsen?
Thank you. The most exposure that I have to Leslie Nielsen's works are just sort of in the background while I was at like my grandparents' house over summer break. And, you know, I would just be walking back and forth from like my bedroom playing video games to like go get a glass of tea or something. And my grandparents, I feel like they were watching his movies a lot. So I've absorbed sort of like the gist of this man's MO. But other than that, no, I have not actually sat down and watched this movie before.
For myself, I would say it is the same. Pretty much. I don't know if I even stuff in the background like I heard. Like, I'm not sure I've seen any Leslie Nielsen movies. I know they exist, but I don't believe I've ever seen any of them. I am pretty sure the only way I know really anything about the films is, and I think it's in the movie Airplane, where it's, and don't call me Shirley, but they're saying surely, blah, 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 blah. And that's only because of The Office. So I think so. Yeah. But the only reason I know about it at all is because I've watched The Office 50 billion times. So yeah, like I really knew nothing about this movie at all. I just knew Leslie Nielsen did parody movies.
You knew his vibe though, right?
Yeah, no, I knew generally speaking because I've seen the trailers too throughout my life. But yeah, that's about it. And Drew, would you like to?
So first I saw this movie when I was, I think, 7 or 8, as usual for my nostalgias. And I saw it back then a lot of times because, you know, VHSs didn't have many of them. We just cycled through what we had. And so I watched this movie at least 20 times in that time.
Wear it out.
Yeah. But this was my first time seeing it as an adult. And we'll find out how I felt about it.
When do you think the last time you saw it before this one, before the podcast was?
I was, I think, 10.
Okay. So quite a while ago.
Yeah.
The target demographic.
Not to call you old, I'm sorry.
No. I feel like if I had seen this when I was 10, I would have been much more pleased.
Just silly stuff. I didn't remember any of the actual story because I wasn't paying attention to that as a kid, really. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Amanda, you do sound like you're already kind of getting into it. Do you want to start us off?
I will start, yeah, because it is difficult, or at least it was for me. I almost want to call what he's doing an art form very, very adjacent to clownery. And I don't mean that in an insult, but I mean like the art of clownery, like clowning. Yeah, right.
Proper clown.
A lot of what you're seeing on the screen is his exaggerated facial expressions, him throwing himself around the room, even the other actors, all very, very exaggerated, over-the-top comical reactions, just like you would see a clown at a circus do. So I kind of liked that. I'll say I appreciated it.
Well, and it's slapstick, right?
There's a lot of slapstick.
Yeah.
It has some funny moments. But it was really hard for me to follow because it is kind of like a whirlwind. At least it was to me. The plot was very hard Oh, no. Let me back that up. The plot was not difficult for me to follow.
It's just kind of dumb.
It was very basic.
And went randomly different places for no particular reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, mainly it's a parody of
The Fugitive.
Yeah, The Fugitive.
Well, and there was a ton of different parodies.
Unfortunately, I have never seen The Fugitive.
Neither have I, but I know that's a parody of The Fugitive.
Yeah.
Neither have I.
Okay.
Through other things I've seen, like Family Guy did a parody of The Fugitive, and then that connected the dots with me. It's like, oh, Wrongfully Accused, kind of, yeah.
There were so many check boxes that this movie was trying to hit parody-wise.
Yeah.
I got some of them.
Did a bunch of great references to all the stuff that was big in 98.
Yeah, and particularly the movies that are sort of thrillers like The Fugitive and stuff.
Yeah.
I think the problem is I don't watch those movies. So sometimes I couldn't tell. Is this joke entirely random or am I not understanding what it is referencing?
It was always option B.
Yeah.
Always.
That I don't understand that what it's referencing. The lamb chop thing is not just random. I thought it was
that
just
part
random.
was.
Okay. Because that was the first thing that made me go,
And the lightsaber thing with the
Okay.
usher, all that stuff is just
Forgot
random
about that.
stuff they placed in there.
okay.
That
Because
gave me
it was
a good
stuff like,
time.
Kind of like a Where's Waldo type thing.
yeah, it was things like that where I'm like, is this a joke that's just a random joke? Right? Or is this something I don't understand? Or is it just not very good and that's why I don't think it's funny? You know, like,
Mm,
but a lot of the jokes, it was sometimes hard to tell. Do I just not find this funny? Do I not understand what they are referencing? Or is it just kind of a random thing they put in? Because some of it was obviously just a joke.
Yeah.
I could tell those. Like when the lady was sticking her tongue in Leslie Nielsen's ear and it came out the other side. That was just a joke.
Actually,
Wait, fuck, is that?
I think there might have been like where a woman looks a guy's ear, but they took it to a higher joke level where she sticks her tongue through the ear and through the head. I think there might have been a reference to a movie. I've never seen it, but I think there might have been a reference to a movie.
It's like a general movie reference, like altogether, not anything specific, right?
Maybe. I'm
But I don't know. Yeah.
not sure. I've never seen it, but I think it seems like the kind of thing that might be a reference to a movie, but just taken to a step further to be funny.
Yeah. Or like where he was putting sunscreen on the girl's back
Yeah.
and she slipped out of the chair. Like those things were like, I think they're just a joke, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
those, I'll tell you, the chair one for some reason got me. And I was like, this reminded me a lot of when I watched Spaceballs where I got mad at myself for laughing.
yes.
I was going to say, this is kind of very similar to Spaceballs in certain ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is a very Mel Brooksy.
I had the exact same movie watching experience, Basil, that I'm pretty sure you did when watching Spaceballs. I found, if I'm going to compare apples to apples, I found Spaceballs in general to be funnier because it was just maintaining this one. I mean, it branched off here and there with the references and that kind of thing, but it maintained its Star Wars theme. This was all over the place, and I thought the exact goddamn thing that you thought. I was like, if I was 100 years old, this would be hilarious. Or if I
Or
was
10.
7 years old, yeah.
I think it's just like Basil said before. I think it does kind of stay. I mean, it does have, Basil also still said, a lot of just jokes, but also does, I think, stay pretty well on its thriller type movie thing, but you just don't watch those that much, so you don't really, they don't all hit, they don't all land.
It was very relevant for the 90s. It
Right.
had a lot of 90s references. Like when they show the girl's secret family tree that she drew when she was in the orphanage, and you see like sister, brother, mom, and there's like question marks all over the place, and then it says dad question mark, and it has a picture of some guy, I don't know who he is, and Bill Clinton.
Pretty sure that was
And-
George Bush, wasn't it?
Was
Maybe I'm
it?
wrong. Like really young.
Oh my
George
God, I
Bush.
think you're right. I would have to look again, but
Yeah.
not long after that, there was like a Mentos joke, and
You're
this
right,
one
yeah.
got me. This one got me. I
First
was
maker.
cracking up. He pops the Mentos. For listeners who might not know, these were commercials that were very popular and very beloved because they were so cheesy and corny. Character would pop a Mentos like he does, and then they would get this look on their face like,
Right.
I've got a
'Cause they're
great
having a
idea.
problem.
Yes. And so he ripped a toilet up out the ground. And even the woman, I'm sorry, I don't remember anybody's name from this movie. I remember Ryan. So the woman is like, what are you doing in there? Is that my toilet? Like she can't see him, but she hears a noise and she knows that it's him ripping up her toilet. and he moves her toilet against a wall so that he can jump out of a window into a truck filled with dirty shit diapers.
Also, there's a joke just before that really got me. When the newscaster is saying something that's very specific to his situation, then he mutes the TV and she starts reacting to being muted.
Oh, yeah. I actually liked that one too. I didn't laugh out loud, but I did like it. It was one of the ones I liked. And that's the thing, I think the jokes I liked more were the ones that were not actually trying to parody things, if I'm being honest.
I agree.
That they were just jokes in and of themselves. But most of this is parody jokes. You know, it's a big wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
He said, my favorite line from this batshit movie was, again, toward the end, where he would deliver these lines to the love interest, the female love interest, and he would just pop them off one after another. And they were all very like Casablanca. Oh my God, someone name a more recent movie that, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Where he's like, I saw through you like spam in a Ziploc bag.
Yes.
He says, you lit up like Dennis Rodman on Christmas. I was like, I get it. I like that one. Thanks. That one was for me. I'm old.
Yeah, I don't really remember anything about Dennis Rodman other than basketball and going to North Korea. So I don't think I got that at all. I mean, I would assume he smoked a lot of weed.
Sparkly. No, he was just,
okay.
I mean, maybe he did. He was just very gender non-conforming at the time. He did a photo shoot for some magazine in like a dress. He was sort of like the 90s Lil Nas X, I guess, for lack of a better, I'm reaching, but.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of somebody else. Men don't take as big fashion risks, so it's a little harder to pinpoint. I'm trying to think of a guy who's similar. I don't think there is now. Like, you're right. The closest would be Lil Nas X, but.
No, wait, there was a guy. He did a voice in Trolls Band Together. It was not Daveed Diggs. It was fucking
Sam Smith.
Oh my God.
Sam Smith does take really big. I don't know.
Girl, don't get me started on Sam Smith. Who sings Day and Night? The Lonely Stone? Kid fucking Cudi. He showed up to some red carpet event multiple times in gowns.
Yeah.
Or at least I think he did it twice. That would have probably been better than Lil Nas X.
I don't know.
Remember?
I think still Dennis Rodman was more flamboyant it really depends on the event too, is the other thing. Whereas I feel like Dennis Rodman did it fucking everywhere. Do you know what I mean? And I think nowadays it's more like men take these risks at specific events and that's it. You know? I don't know. Anyhow.
Yeah, no, that Dennis Rodman was about that shock value. So anyhow, there's your history lesson, kiddos.
Okay, I get it now. Like, because he always had colored hair and he had piercings and stuff, and
yeah,
he was.
Yeah, and he would do like the leopard spots on his hair and all that kind of cool shit. He always had cool sunglasses.
Yep. I remember that. But yeah, I think the more successful jokes were the ones that were just sort of jokes, rather than being like, remember in that Thriller movie that we're referencing, or like, you know what I mean?
Yes, a lot of the movie felt like that.
Yeah.
The sound effects too, you guys.
Yeah. Like when the lady puts the keys down her cleavage.
Yeah, that's all his movies.
They worked so hard. It was like Looney Tunes sound effects.
Mm-hmm. And I think the thing about that is that it's almost like the style of these movies is a little beyond reality, right? Like it is pushing into the cartoon, literally.
Right. That bus scene tells me that.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was horrible.
Yeah,
and it
fair enough.
Horrible. Like it wanted to be that horrible. I think
it is doing extra on purpose.
But I remember that being, for my kid mind, I remember that being longer than it was. It's just like a few bounces and stuff. But
like
I remember
just dropping and bouncing all over the place. It looked like a Pez dispenser.
Scene after that with the train, I don't remember that at all, actually.
The train chasing him?
Yeah.
Like the train is a person?
Right. It's actively chasing him.
Peeking around corners.
Jumps off the tracks and everything.
If there were someone to turn this podcast on right now and just start listening to what we were talking about with zero context, they would think we were from outer fucking space. And that's sort of how I felt watching this movie. I was like, am I high? A lot of times I was like, Am I dissociating? I feel okay. Am I dissociating?
I wonder how this would be.
No, I couldn't do it. I'd panic.
I just think of it when I was watching it. This is so much like my experience watching Spaceballs.
Yes.
It just felt like that. This is clearly not kind of geared towards the kinds of things that I like anyway, because it was a parody of movies I don't watch, and it was not my humor. So I was sort of like, I know what the jokes are. I know what's supposed to be funny. It's just not for me, you know?
It was, again, we saw a lot of the Jewish humor poking. I'm assuming Leslie Nielsen is Jewish. I hope so, given the content of some of the jokes. I don't know anything about him.
It's the thing I don't actually know.
Yeah, like when he's doing the Mission Impossible spoof and he's hanging from all of these weird wires down onto like lasers in the shape of a Star of David. And I think like the security system, once he disarms it, it's like shalom or something like that. There were some, to me, very obvious Jewish jokes. I don't know.
It's also possible the writer director, because the writer and the director are the same person, is themselves actually, you know, I'm not sure though.
Gonna take an aside.
Find out.
So, Leslie Nielsen is in fact not Jewish.
Yeah, I kind of thought he wasn't. Mostly because he was Canadian, but then I was like, that's dumb. You could still be a Jewish Canadian person. And then I was like, that's
impossible.
Yeah.
Oh my
I guess
God.
I think of Canada as like a monolith almost sometimes when I think about it, as like very, very white, very, very Midwestern. But that is not true, of course.
When he was in the tackle shop towards the beginning-ish of the movie, it was after he was on the run. And real quick, can we just try to explain what's going on in this movie? Because I think that's something that we need to do for people that have not read along. His name is Ryan.
Ryan Harrison.
Ryan Harrison. We know that he is a concerto violinist, is what it seems like. And he's basically like the rock star of violinist, to the point where like they put on a production as though it's a rock show, and he's jabbing people in the eye with his violin bow, and it's all very over the top. And this is where I blacked out in the movie. I was like, okay, there's two girls that look way too similar for my ADHD to parse.
Oh my God, so for real.
Right.
For me, it was the same thing.
Oh, they're supposed to be sisters, and one of them does have sort of like a softer, more quote unquote, I guess, approachable look than the other one. But
that is more their actual like facial expressions, not their faces themselves, I would say.
Facial features, I feel you.
Yeah.
It was on purpose. So a husband gets killed, and I think he is a rich art connoisseur, and Ryan gets blamed or framed for the murder. It was super hard for me to parse.
So he's there during the murder and does sort of see the person who murders, you know, the art dealer, whatever the hell his name is.
Was it the guy whose arms and legs kept falling off?
Yes.
Because I was like, I get it. Ha, his arms and legs are falling off.
The one arm, one leg, one-eyed man.
One-eyed, one arm, one... God.
Yep.
For the majority of this movie, Ryan is on the run. He actually gets sentenced. And the whole thing goes by so fast on purpose. If you blink, you miss it. It's like he's being arrested.
Let's just get to the wrongfully accused part.
Right.
Let's run through this. We don't need it.
So he escapes the prison bus and spends the whole rest of the movie being wrongfully accused, yes. And he ends up in this bait shop. And it is very... I was like, oh, he's in Canada now, especially because of the way that the cashier, the shopkeeper, I don't know what to call him, especially the way he talked, like his accent.
That's just Midwestern.
Well, they were in Minnesota.
Is that Midwestern? Oh, I don't know where anything is. That is pretty much Midwestern, isn't it? Minnesota?
Yes, it is. But it's also like, if you get in your boat, you're in Canada.
Yeah, I equate Midwesterners with Canadians, like as they're basically the same thing. Like,
Girl, me too.
Yeah. Like they speak very similarly. The accent is quite similar.
Sure. Yep.
And they're like outwardly polite, at least, you know. So yeah, I liked when he took the sharp. Okay, like because there were a few things I did like when he took the Sharpie to his own face. And at first, you think he's just gonna like put on a pair of glasses or something because there's a wanted sign. He sees a wanted sign with his own face on it. So he grabs a Sharpie because he was actually writing with it, and he starts to draw glasses, and you think it's just going to be like glasses and a mustache or something. And then you look at it and it's like a million things. Like it's a hat and longer hair and a
long beard.
Goatee. Yeah.
It was just like, oh my God. And then they're like, stop. And there's a guy who actually kind of looks like that. Like he has the glasses and the hat and the long beard and everything. Like that little sequence, I think, like I said, when they're not actually parodying anything specific, it's so much better.
That scene I
the
thought
parodies.
was straight out of Looney Tunes. Like this was almost a live action cartoon.
Yeah, which I think isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just not something I'm interested in. You know what I mean? Especially because like there are parts too where it gets too adult. Like, so it's clearly not specifically aimed at children, right? What was the rating for this? Let me look. So it isn't for young kids, right? PG-13 is usually the thing you go for when you want something kind of racy, but not too racy, right?
I would not have watched this with my child.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad I did not try it.
But a lot of the humor is childlike, if that makes sense. Ooh, there's, a lot of misogyny in it, of course. But there was the Baywatch scene. So basically, Leslie Nielsen does the fugitive scene with the sewer that everybody knows. And there's, lifeguards for the river for some reason. And the thing I thought with the ladies' boobs bouncing around, I was sort of like, that must have been so fucking painful for those women because they did not have bras on. And I have run, and I don't even have big boobs. And I have run without a bra on, and it's painful, like incredibly painful. Ouch.
Not run before, but I have had instances where, they're jostling.
Mm-hmm. That shit hurts.
And again, I'm, nothing to write home about, but you're right. It's not comfortable.
No, that's all I could think.
Oh, I did find it funny, though.
Yeah.
That the male lifeguards, though, they got to the water and they were like, oh, God, oh, cold, cold. I laughed at that, too, and I don't know why. It was so stupid.
Yeah.
A lot of this movie is just so absolutely absurd that this movie is in its way. It's in its own way. Like it tried way, way, way too hard. And if it would have dialed it back down a little bit, I think we would have been somewhere in the range of Spaceballs Town. I think Spaceballs did this type of thing better. I've seen a lot of Mel Brooks movies. I have not seen any Leslie Nielsen movies other than this one. So I hesitate to say Mel Brooks does this type of thing better. But if we were just to solidly compare these two movies, Spaceballs had me at least following the plot and understanding the characters and so on and so forth.
I think for me, they rank very similarly in terms of their parent. Well, hold on. They're not, because I really love Star Wars and I don't like these kinds of 90s thrillers movies where usually it's men running from the cops. So it does put them on different footing. However, I kind of had the same problems with them, But I do see what you're saying, because I do think the humor was slightly more thoughtful in Spaceballs, you know what I mean?
But not by much.
But some of it wasn't. Yeah, like most of it wasn't really.
No, we're talking about degrees.
There was a lot more dick jokes in Spaceballs.
Oh, and those are my favorite ones. Like the ones where he was digging in his ass and digging in his pants to get the gun. Now, I do hate that there was, an innocent bystander at the hospital that was like, oh, nurse. But I was like, oh, it's an old man fumbling with his ass and dick. Like, that's funny to me. Just like the toilet scene was funny to me. Oh, and the scene in the beginning where the lady is in the balcony and she's looking at Ryan and he's doing fire shit with his violin. And he looks at her and she starts like licking that cigar and then she bites it off. And oh my God.
He was pushing the drawer out.
He's digging a pony with a drawer for poison.
Then when she bites it, it goes back in.
Yes, and his cock pushes the podium out. Or not the podium,
There's
but
like
the
a little drawer in the
podium.
front of the podium, yeah.
Totally stupid.
I was just kind of grossed out in that scene because have y'all ever smoked a cigar? They're fucking disgusting.
I would rather die.
So watching her put it in her mouth, I was already like, ooh, that's probably what tastes good. And then she fucking bit it and I was like, ugh.
She was like rubbing it on her chest and stuff.
Yeah. Ugh. 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 These cigars are so disgusting. Ugh. I like get nauseous thinking about cigars half the time.
I have thrown up before at a club, and it was during a moment where I really, really did not want to throw up. I had a lot of eyes on me, and someone was smoking a cigar, and I threw up in my mouth and like excused myself silently with mouthful throw up.
Terrible. The smell is terrible. But I gotta tell you, the taste is worse somehow. It's so bad.
I've never gotten that far.
Don't know why people like them. I literally took one puff of a cigar when I was a teenager and was like, I'm gonna die. I feel like throwing up. It's horrible.
Yeah, I would rather drink bong water than smoke a cigar. And that's how we feel about that.
I think the plot was purposely convoluted to parody these types of movies.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was trying to check boxes off all over the place. And it was doing I don't want to say a good job. It was checking off all these boxes, but that's the problem. It didn't need all of this stuff. I mean, maybe it did. I'm trying to imagine a movie. I'm trying to imagine this movie, Wrongfully Accused, where it just sort of like lets itself be and goes for a few of these funny references and goes for a few of these parodies. But it was just like,
if it was pared down.
It was manic.
Yeah.
In trying to hit all of these funny bones. And it didn't. Not for me anyways. I don't even remember my grandparents laughing when they watched these movies over and over.
Okay. This reminds me of Billy, and I don't mean it in a bad way.
Get his ass on the mic.
No, he's not here. No, we were at a yard sale one time, and he was chattering. And mostly I was there because they said they had a bunch of craft stuff. So I'm looking through this fabric, and he's chattering, and I just went, you don't have to fill every silence with speaking. You know that, right? Tim? Which I realize is so bitchy, but because there were other people there. But it is a thing he does. I realize like silence makes him uncomfortable, and he feels like I must speak to fill silence. And it felt like that kind of in the film where it's like, I must tell joke. There can be no time without joke.
Yes. To the point where it did itself a detriment because Basil, had you not done the synopsis at the very beginning, I was sitting there, I smacked my forehead and I was like, oh, he was an art dealer or he was an art connoisseur. Like there were so many crucial plots to this bare bones ass plot that I couldn't get any of them because of all of this peripheral joke shit being thrown at me constantly.
Also, the art dealer's name, I think, is a pun. I don't know about the first name, but his last name is Goodhue, like the hue, Hue, like color.
Right, of a color.
Yeah.
That's not even funny.
I know.
You're just like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently they have pun names. I think there is a film that Billy really loves and he wants me to watch. I'm honestly very surprised he didn't choose it when he was the guest on our podcast.
Liam Neeson.
The Devil's Own. So Billy really loves the movie The Devil's Own. Again, I'm surprised that he did not choose it instead of Heat. It may not have been available to watch anywhere. No, it is. Because he talks about it all the time. And I think it came out in the 90s as well. Let me double check that. Yeah, 97. So I believe this movie parodied some of it with like the terrorist stuff. Because there's stuff in that movie, again, I have not seen it, but about the IRA. And so I think it was parodying that as well, kind of near the end where their family, it turns out, is the group of terrorists that have been vaguely mentioned throughout the background of the film until it came to the forefront in that part.
And that frustrated me too, because there was some sort of quote unquote twist where the love interest was like, I was only stringing along my terrorist family. I've always known that they were terrorists. And it was frustrating.
Do you think if the general storyline was a little better, it would also be better? Or do you think it wouldn't matter because it had too many just extraneous jokes happening all the time, every second?
The second thing that you said, it was, for me anyways, Drew, I don't know if you felt different. For me, it was too much all at once.
Well, not the jokes, at least.
Like, there's a goddamn Braveheart. Sorry.
What did you say, Drew?
I liked all the jokes. The jokes were...
You liked every joke?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there were a couple that weren't quite up to par with the rest, but pretty much...
I'm beginning to think Drew has old man humor.
Yeah, I thought we established that on Spaceballs.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I do know you love a pun. I do know that.
Yeah.
I've known that for a long time, but which is some of the jokes in both Spaceballs and here were puns, right? There are a lot of more so in Spaceballs than here, but
I think Spaceballs was way more punny. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
This was just like one scene that I can't stop thinking about, and I really hope that I can before I go to bed and have to have nightmares about it, was when Ryan got his face shoved against a window and then he tried to pull himself off. There was a lot of prosthetic jokes. Like his lips and nose stuck to the glass. And was like a big rubber band stretching out. I'm just like,
yeah. And I think that was one of the times where it was particularly joke, right? Right after each other, too. I feel like it's exhausting when it's like joke. Although that's not always true. Like, I remember there was a video by Drew Gooden at one point about The Office, and he was talking about one particular episode that is very popular and honestly is one of the best episodes. So there's a reason it's popular, but where part of its genius, or this is what Drew was saying in his video, different Drew Gooden was saying in his video that part of why it's successful is it is cramming jokes in. So maybe I don't have a problem necessarily if you're cramming jokes in. I don't know.
I've got to know which episode this was.
Oh, I don't remember what the name of it is. It's the one where Stanley has a heart attack. And it's like a two-parter. Let me find out.
That's hilarious.
Right? It's that good old classic hilarious one where Stanley has the funniest heart attack.
It is past the heart attack. It's called stress relief. It is past the heart attack. So the particular scene that is being discussed in this is post heart attack. When he comes back to work, one of the things they do is they have a CPR trainer come and teach everyone CPR. Because everyone was like, oh, because Stanley's heart attack did happen in the office. So everyone, particularly Michael, is freaked out about it, saying like, we didn't know what to do. And this way, it was one of Michael's very few good ideas.
Right?
But yeah, basically that scene.
Oh, was it the Bee Gees Staying Alive?
Yes, the thing with the Bee Gees, and then Michael doesn't know the Bee Gees song, and then she corrects him, and then Andy starts singing along to the Bee Gees song like the other parts, and then I don't know. It just, that scene is like joke, really quick succession kind of thing like that. So I guess because I think that episode is hilarious, and that scene is very funny, and yet I don't like it in this film. So maybe it just depends on the kind of humor, you know?
I kind of think that the humor, especially if we're talking about The Office, the humor is derived from people being people.
And being a little absurd.
Like, that's the joke, I think.
Yeah.
But I almost had a desire sensor when I watched this movie. I was like, he wants me to laugh. He really fucking wants me to laugh, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
It seemed like this movie was starved for your laughter, and it almost put me off. I was like, you're coming across a little desperate. Am I nuts?
No, I understand what you're saying, because I've talked about this a little bit in kind of the opposite direction in dramas, where when you can tell what the filmmaker wants from you, like what they're trying to do, it takes
ruins
out of it. Yeah. like when they want you to cry. For me, it's like, that's a turn off, and I don't feel like I need to cry now because I can tell you want me to cry, right? Or like you want me to laugh and I can tell you want me to laugh. So now I really don't want to laugh.
I turn into my 4-year-old daughter. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, bitch, I know it's midnight and my eyes are crossing because I'm so goddamn tired, but I am not going to sleep. You want it too hard.
Yeah, and I think there is something to be said about the acting of it as well. At least for me, in terms of comedy, when things are funny for me, I think they have to be a little more naturalistic, where the person might be saying or doing something really absurd, but I think if the actor is not acting like this is totally normal, I don't like it as much. Do you know what I'm saying?
Why The Office worked.
Why I like The Office so much and why I like, honestly, 2010s sitcoms. Because I will say that is a style thing a little bit. There's an incredible video I watched about Nick Cage's acting. I keep talking about YouTube, but I watch really long video essays on YouTube. But it was talking about the style of acting. Because if you watch even, like early movies, like 30s, 40s, 50s, and how they act very differently than they do today. And today, the more time goes on, we value that naturalistic kind of acting. And I wonder if that is something with comedy now, too. Does that make sense?
Well, if it's not, it should be, because the funniest shit that happens is from people who absolutely don't think they're being fucking funny.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's still, I would say, a skill to not crack up too when you are doing something you genuinely find funny. So there is a bit of that. I don't know.
Basil, even as you said the last string of words that you said, my face, I know y'all can hear my smile because I love it when comedians laugh at their own jokes. And I don't know why everyone else hates it.
Isn't that kind of the opposite of what you just were saying?
It is the opposite.
No.
Because I was saying when you know you are funny, it's not as appealing, is what I was saying.
Okay, you guys, I'm going to try to explain this to y'all.
Okay.
There are times where I've been playing D&D with you guys, and I have said something where I tickled the shit out of my own self. And in those moments, I think to myself, I'm almost having like dread. I'm like, oh God, I'm a nerd. This is horrible. This thing that I've said is so fucking stupid. This is the worst. I'm the worst. But ha ha ha, I got to myself. I can't stop laughing. It's not like, oh, this is a winner. You know what I mean? Like, this is such a winner. Like, if I felt that way, I would not be laughing.
No, I think I see what you're saying, where when you are saying it out loud, you find it funny, but you don't really know what the reaction necessarily is.
Or care.
You just sort of went, oh man, this is actually pretty funny. Oh, it's more like surprising yourself a little bit with your own
like I'm alone in the room. When I laugh at my own joke, y'all don't exist. Do what?
So do you like Jimmy Kimmel? He does a lot of that.
Who the fuck?
He's a British stand-up comic. And he does it. He has like a wheezing laugh. He says a joke and he's like,
oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. He has a show that's not a sitcom, but like a comedy. I don't even know what to call them because Britain has a ton of them where it's comedians sort of sitting around and doing something prompted that's supposed to be funny. I don't even know. What do you call that? But I know what you're talking about.
Something that's prompted that's supposed to be funny. Wow.
Hold on. That sounds real nasty. I mean, usually it is funny, but like the idea is they are trying to be funny, a little bit.
They're trying to make you laugh or something.
I'm trying to think of what the fuck it is that he does. Because there's a bunch of these British shows, like Would I Lie to You is one of them. I think his is about like what happened this week. Maybe that's not him. I don't know. I'm gonna shut up. I only know about them because I love James Acaster and I watch anything I can that he's on. I actually like a lot of British comedians.
So things where people laugh out loud at their own jokes and it makes it better. Number one, Saturday Night Live, especially if it's the guest who is completely unaccustomed to the torture that they are enduring.
They're supposed to be laughing, but they can't help it. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I want to say it was Michael Jordan as a host of SNL, laugh a whole bunch. I don't know why. It's that cracking moment. Same thing with podcasts. I listen to a lot of improv.
Like Magic Tavern.
Yep. Arnie Niekamp.
I instantly thought about that when you said podcast. I was like, yep. Hello from the Magic Tavern.
Constantly. And you can tell at first that they were editing it out, and then they stopped. They were just like, just let Arnie laugh at himself and other people.
Because you could hear it a little bit.
Yes. And you can always hear when someone smiles, even when you can't see them.
Yeah.
But to bring it back, to reel it back in, I didn't get that vibe off of this movie. It was clownery. It was just pure clownery. And I don't feel like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
It was like those people who go to France to study comedy and become, never mind, I'm going to shut the fuck up. Become Poirots.
It was tough for me. It was tough. I will say my Adderall was big time wearing off when I started this movie. And it was later on in the day. So I was just like, I've had it with you, movie. I've had it with you, wrongfully accused.
I'm not going to lie. Samesies, but without medication.
You had it.
No, it was more like I did have a hard time keeping my attention. Like I'd have to keep reminding myself, no, this is what you're doing. Stop looking at your phone. Do not pick your phone up.
So you guys, there have been movies that we all have picked where even before I pressed play, I made the assumption, and I know I talked about this on Drunken Master, I made the assumption, I'm going to hate this shit. Better get the basket of laundry out so that I have something to do while I'm watching this movie. I had the opposite experience with this. We had a hard time finding this movie. And there was a scare for a moment that we weren't going to be able to do this movie because we were having a hard time finding a viable source for it. And I was disappointed. I was like, oh man, I thought this was going to be, really funny. And then I started watching it and I really did. I folded laundry and picked shit up off the floor and did all of these things that I thought that I was going to do with other movies that kept me engaged.
I'm going to be honest. All the things I thought I wouldn't like, I didn't. So
I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I did, but I don't know.
I don't generally go into episodes or movies thinking one way or the other. I just watch the movie.
Live in the moment.
Yeah.
I think because it's something that you have to take time aside to do. And for me, that can take a lot of convincing. Like, don't watch YouTube videos all day or, whatever. And so I have to set aside like, okay, don't do just whatever you want. Do the thing you need to do. And for some of them, I dread that more, right? Or not dread it, but I really have to force myself because I don't think this chunk of time is something I'm going to have a great time with.
So you guys, I will actually avoid things that I think are going to be really good because I need to do so much shit. Like I need to be multitasking all the time. And there is so much media that I say no to. I'm like, nope, you are too good. I've got to do laundry. I've got to do dishes. And I want to be able to devote a certain amount of time to you that I will never be able to. So we are not meant to be. And I end up watching, fucking Friends for the 45,000th time.
I mean, samesies, but I just, to be fair, this is something I've been working on in therapy. Doing things I don't want to do is like pulling teeth for me. And I build those things up in my head. And so not that I don't want to watch a film for our podcast. That's not really it. But it is something where it's like, oh, it's something I have to do. So now I don't want to. Because I have to. Yeah. But either way, like I said, there are times when I go, I don't think this is going to be something that I'm going to have a great time and really enjoy. When I think that, it is harder for me to convince myself to take aside the time and do it. There are times where I'm just busy and I wait till the last minute, but usually the ones I watch later in the week, like closer to recording time were ones that I was like, I don't know that this is going to be a fun time for me, you know?
Waited till crunch time.
Kind of. You know, and there's nothing wrong with any of these things that I didn't like, right? Like, there's nothing technically wrong with any of these. They're just not to my taste, and I am very good at telling what is to my taste, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think that we have wrung all we're going to get
Yeah, probably.
out of this film.
Oh, I would like to hear more from Drew. If you have anything to say, if you don't.
I mean, tackle scene, that was, for you fans of America's Most Wanted, that was Bill Walsh.
Oh, is he the one that had the sexy ass boots? Like he dropped his mug of coffee in the floor and then
then it was like an egg.
Yeah. He kept dropping shit in the floor over and over, and it was a very long, drawn out. Okay. Those boots.
Egg, water balloon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, that's sexy. Those boots are sexy as fuck. I also, and this again is the 12-year-old boy in me, I found the scene where Ryan, I don't remember what triggers this, but he starts to have flashbacks of being like assaulted by the one-eyed, one-legged guy, one-armed guy. I don't remember, but it looks like they're butt fucking. And I laughed my ass off because I'm so stupid. And so was that scene. Anyhow.
Like, a lot of the jokes are kind of stupid.
So stupid.
Yeah. And if you're into that, you're into that, you know?
And I am.
Bring it now.
Amanda, are you okay over there?
In the dark and like humping his ass.
Okay.
Like we said, also on Spaceballs, I like highbrow jokes, but also like, fart jokes. I like comedy.
Oh no.
I will say, I think most farts are funny, you know? When people say it's as funny as a fart in church, I'm like, that's hilarious. What are you talking about?
It depends on who you are.
Oh.
Wait, hang on. While we're on the subject, I shared this with you guys yesterday, I know, but I need to share this with the world. Oh, girl, please don't kill me when you're an adult and you hear this. My tiny baby, my teeny tiny baby 4-year-old, she did fart. She farts all the time. We're just like, let it rip. And she goes, I farted. And I'm like, okay, I support you. Like, there's more room on the outside than there is on the inside. And she was like, no, that's not what I mean. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? And she goes, I blew you a kiss with my butt. And I was like, damn, I like that. I'm going to use that. Thank you. So yes, farts are hilarious.
Now she's just going to put her butt on you when she farts. Like a little kiss.
Everything she does is my fault. I started it.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else anyone wants to touch on? Or do we feel like we've kind of hit everything we wanted to talk about?
I've had enough.
Yeah, I think this.
Okay. Do we want to give our verdicts then?
Who wants to go first?
This movie is okay. I do agree with Amanda that in this category of film, Spaceballs was better, partially because Star Wars. Also, the jokes in this were, I liked all the jokes, well, most of the jokes, but the pacing, the jokes coming a mile a minute, that was kind of a bit overwhelming. So I think that, well, the jokes were funny to me, and the plot was ridiculous. Still like the movie, but not as much as I thought I would like it, and not as much as I used to, definitely. That's why I give this one a soft nostalgia.
All right.
I mean, I'll be honest. I think mine's real obvious.
Very obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nostalgia for me. Possibly if you're into this kind of humor, you might like it. But I do think there's a lot going on for no particular reason. I know that it's like a staple of the genre, and that is part of it. But it becomes a little convoluted instead. And I think, especially if you don't like this humor, it's really going to be a bad time for you, right? And it does feel very of its time in a lot of ways. So yeah, for those reasons, I'm going to say nostalgia.
Y'all, I think I almost hated it. It was so rough on my neurodivergency. It almost felt like harassment. I'm like, I'm just trying to exist here. Like, you don't have to do all this. I almost felt like personally harassed by this movie. And yeah, I know I'm being hyperbolic, but this was the most difficult movie out of every single movie that we all have watched together. I was not thinking that this was going to be difficult at all, but it was. It was so hard that it physically hurt me. Like, I don't know, maybe ADHD people out there know what I'm talking about, but it gave me some like physical issues. I was just like,
what does that
I
mean?
laughed.
Did it give you a stomach ache? Like,
No. You know how like when you're so uncomfortable, like mentally, you feel like you need to just jump out of your own skin?
yes.
Like a beta fish jumping out of a bowl and like shriveling up and dying in the floor. I don't even know. Again, I'm making it out to be.
No, I actually do know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm being dramatic, but this is a big oh no. I appreciated that there was a toilet joke. I appreciated that there was a dick joke. I appreciated that there was a butt fucking joke. That's about as much as it got from me. Your mileage may vary.
All right. Then I guess that has been our episode of Yestalgia.
Before we go,
yeah, okay.
I would like to remind everyone again to like and share the show with everyone you know, and go watch the YouTube version. That's at YouTube/the Yestalgia Podcast. And also, I'm going to put out a challenge for everyone. I will give a shout out, for what it's worth, to the first person who says what we're watching next based on the clip at the end of the episode on X, Twitter, and shout out at the beginning of the show, next episode.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Fun. I want to do that too.
Why don't we'll rotate who says it. How about that?
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So then that has been our episode of Yestalgia. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.
See ya later.
Bye.